There's a new platform called Superfans that hates censorship and supports the free flow of information. Over there, creators can be themselves and say whatever the frick they need to say to get their message out. It's kind of like a fusion of Patreon, Cameo, Subscribestar, YouTube, and Instagram, all rolled into one minus the censorship. All my feeds in YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook automatically sync to my Superfans channel. Plus, creators have full control over their own content. So do me a favor while I still have this channel. Follow me on superfans.co/highimpactflicks and my other social media sites. Those links are in the description below. I'm going to start this video off with this right here. This, believe it or not, comes from refusefascism.org. And my question is, okay, yeah, refuse fascism, because fascism is statism, guys. Statism is the idea that somebody somewhere has a higher claim, or they believe that somebody has a higher claim over your life and property than you. They believe that they, the oligarchs, have a higher claim over your life and your property, your family's lives and your family's property. They believe they are the gods of this world. That's what fascism is. But then again, that's what socialism is. That's what communism is. That's what Marxism is. That's what all those isms is. The only ism that's legitimate is capitalism. And the reason capitalism is legit is because it's not about an oligarchical society. It's not about the powerful ruling over the peasants. All capitalism is, and I hate that capitalism has been thrown into the hopper with corporatism, because when businesses own, when they pervert capitalism, when they get involved in the free market, well, it's not free anymore. Guys, we don't have a free market. We haven't had a free market since at least 1913. When you're manipulating and diluting the money supply, you don't have a free market. The market operates on whatever that currency is. And if that currency is monopolized and controlled by the puppet masters, the free market is gone. I mean, there are measures. It's like they weighted us from the shallow side of the pool into the deeper side of the pool over the years. They've increased more and more and more power. There was 1913, and then I'm skipping around. And then there was 1944, the Bretton Woods Agreement, where they pegged the value of the dollar, where it became the world reserve currency, to $35 an ounce. And then people realized, hey, we could start creating notes here, Federal Reserve notes, and just start expanding the money supply. And now we got way more notes than we do gold. Charles de Gaulle, for example, from France, was tipped off, and he was like, screw this. You guys are spending way too much money in the Vietnam War in the 1960s. I'm coming to get my gold. You're giving my gold back, because everybody's putting their gold on reserve. In Fort Knox, the Americans had control of the gold, and everybody was trusting them to peg that dollar to $35 an ounce gold. Well, people got just way too greedy. And on August 15th, 1971, Nixon closed the gold window. He decoupled the dollar from gold. So in a sense, there was a measure of freedom before 1913, a big measure of freedom, let's call it the free market. 1913 came along, and as they started ramping up, taking over the power of the dollar and extracting wealth from the dollar as people were working, they extracted their time and labor and energies from it. It got worse and worse and worse. You go to 1941, you got 44, you got to 1971. They close the gold window, so they increase in power as the value of the dollar decreases and decreases and decreases. When they get first dibs on the dollar, they get to wring more value out of it. Us low peasants at the bottom of the totem pole, we get whatever's left over for that currency cycle. And then it just gets worse and worse from there. So there's a measure of freedom that you had, but as the oligarchical rule and the Zionist rule over the fiat currency Ponzi scheme got tighter and tighter, we Americans, because we fell asleep at the wheel, got weaker and weaker. More of our rights were lost, and more of our wealth was extracted. And these guys are cunning, man. These people are smart. So when you're talking about capitalism, true capitalism, all capitalism is, hey, I got a pen, I got a dollar. I'll give you the dollar for that pen, and you give me the pen for my dollar. So this person wants the dollar more than than he wants the pen. This person wants the pen more than he wants the dollar. Change. I take your dollar, you take my pen. That's capitalism. No force, no coercion, no threats, no violence. It's just two people entering into a mutually consensual business transaction. He wants my pen, I want his dollar. Boom. Hey, I'm happy with my dollar now. He's happy with the pen. That's capitalism at its bare bones. Corporatism is there's a third party controlling all that and also controlling the monetary supply, controlling the value of that dollar, and thereby putting a price on that pen. See, when the pen goes up or down in value, it's really not the object. It's not the eggs increasing or decreasing in value. It's not the meat. It's not the cheese. It's not that motorcycle or that bike or that car or that house that you bought going up and down in value. It's that dollar either increasing in strength or decreasing in strength, depending on the levers and the buttons that the Federal Reserve pushes and pulls in our land. So when I see people say refusefascism.org, I'm like, yeah, cool. Refuse fascism. All you're saying is refuse statism. It's, Zionism, fascism, Marxism, communism, all these isms. It's just statism. The idea that somebody believes they have a higher claim over their life and property than you, to the extent where they think they have the moral right to rule you. And they believe that you have the moral obligation to obey their rulership or, in their minds, be rightly punished. Oh, you didn't obey my command? Well, then you're going to be punished. That's statism, guys. That describes in a nutshell communism. You don't need to get into any of the minutia about the details of it. Socialism has a hierarchy. Communism has a hierarchy. Fascism has a hierarchy. It's usually the rich ruling over the poor. And any of those isms is statism. It's downright evil. It's a slave system. It's a class or caste system. Everyone everywhere. This says everyone everywhere all out for September 5th. Protest and demand Trump Pence out now. That's good. That's good. Why? Because Trump is a freaking oligarch controlled by the bankers. But what are you going to replace him with?
There's a new platform called...
What do you refusefascism.org guys want to replace? But what are you going to replace him with? What do you refusefascism.org guys want to replace him with? It says on September 5th, we must make a living declaration to the world that we are uniting, we are organizing, we are determined, we are preparing to struggle with all we've got. Sounds good. Sounds good. What are you uniting against? We are determined, we are preparing to struggle with all we've got, starting now and not stopping till Trump-Pence regime is driven from power and its fascist program brought to a halt. Yes, I totally agree with that. Now, what are you going to replace it with? Oh, Biden and Harris? You've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. First of all, if you're going after Trump and Pence, that's exactly what the oligarchs behind the curtain want you to do. That's exactly what the Zionist banking international cartel want you to do. They want you to go after the hand puppet. They want you to go after the sock puppet. They want you to go after the diversion. Because that's what presidents are. They are figurehead positions. They are figurehead puppets. Just like every politician, they're just puppets. They're a fence to keep you from seeing what the real problem is. They want you engaged in politics. That's why I constantly say that politics is nothing more or less than the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering in order to dupe average people into accepting and even demanding the chains of their own enslavement. It's like, we don't want Trump and Pence to enslave us. We want Biden and Kamala Harris. We want Joe in the hoe, like somebody put in the room the other day. Here's a pamphlet they're sending out. Everyone, everywhere, September 5th, protest and demand Trump Pence out now. Launch 60 days of struggle, mass nonviolent protest every day. How do you think that's going to go down? You really think that's going to be nonviolent? Really? Given these anti-fascist, Antifa, that's what anti-fascist is. Antifa and BLM have shown nothing but violence. Now, could they have been co-opted? Of course. Are they economically fueled by some source like Soros? Sure looks like it. Tell the world we're uniting, we're organized. I already read that. The Trump-Pence regime is moving fast to consolidate fascist rule and hammer in a nightmare for humanity. Yes, of course they are. Do you think Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to do any different at all? If you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, you are frickin' insane. Police gunned down black and brown people. How about white people? How about just police gun down people? They do. They're not out there serving and protecting. They're harassing and collecting. Why just isolate black and brown people? Because that's what, no, even statistically, that's not, no. Black people, how about black people are gunning down black people? Black and brown people are gunning down black and brown and white people. How about just be completely honest with this? They've already given themselves over to a paradigm, guys. The Trump-Pence regime backs the police. Well, that would be bad. That would be bad because most cops are bad. Most police organizations okay, let me ask you a question. Can there be any good cop when the job of the cop, the role of a police officer, the job description and criteria is to enforce all laws? To put your hand on a Bible and lift your hand toward heaven and say you're going to protect and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, but also say, and I will also uphold the laws of the state. Did you know that most laws contradict the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights? How can you put your hand on a Bible and say you're going to uphold the Bill of Rights and all the laws that are completely 100% contradictory to the Bill of Rights? That occupation of law enforcer necessitates that you bring into reality, bring into this earth by your actions, to carry out the words of politicians. Make the words of politicians, turn those into actions. We want a war on drugs. It's not really a war on drugs, it's a war on people. So that war on people is enacted by the law enforcers. There are people in jail right now that have been there for years and years and years that are only sitting behind bars because they grew a certain plant in their backyard or they had a particular kind of plant matter that the politicians said they couldn't have. And the law enforcer said, you know what? The politicians are our overlords. We're beholden to them. That's how we get our paycheck through the extraction of theft. Taxation is theft. And so we're going to take that person and we're going to declare a war on them in the name of declaring a war on drugs. We're going to put that person behind bars. We're going to arrest that person. We're going to kidnap that person. We're going to cage them. We're going to fine them. We're going to cite them. We're going to literally ruin their lives. And now they're going to have a criminal history when they didn't even do anything wrong, except go against the words of politicians who said you couldn't have drugs. Just like yesteryear. Back in 1920 to 1933, the politicians said you can't have, you can't own, you can't buy, sell, or transport alcohol. In Prohibition, you became a criminal. Think about the insanity of this. At 11:59, the night before Prohibition went it was enacted, or was made into a magical law, at 11:59, before the clock struck 12, before the day that Prohibition law went into effect, you were fine. You could buy alcohol, sell it, trade it, transport it, drink it. When the clock struck 12, you became a criminal if you did the very thing you were doing just 1 second prior. Automatically, you become a criminal because a politician says so. What magic is this? Think about the insanity that a man can declare another man a criminal when the guy is doing the same thing he was doing 1 second ago. When you put it into that perspective, it lends a little bit of clarity to the insanity of the situation, doesn't it? How could it be that a person is committing a crime when he wasn't committing a crime before, but now all of a sudden because a parasitic politician, a ward of the state, an overlord said, now you're a criminal? Guys, you don't have a crime if there is no victim. If somebody's property wasn't stolen, there's no crime. If somebody's property wasn't destroyed, there's no crime. If a person wasn't threatened, there's no crime. If a person wasn't harmed or being threatened to be harmed, there is no crime. No victim, no crime. But our legal system has declared people to be criminals when they are not. When they have hurt no one, they've stolen nothing. No victim, no crime. So we have this paradigm that we have to deal with, and these morons are dealing with, they act like Trump and Pence are the problem. Trump and Pence aren't the problem, just like Obama and Biden and Kamala Harris and Biden aren't the problem. They're a symptom of the problem, but they're the branches, or they're the leaves dangling from the branches connected to the tree that has a trunk, and that trunk has roots. And unless you go after the root of the problem, you don't even begin to touch the problem. They're plucking leaves off of 250-year-old oak trees. They're going to the redwood forest, a tree that is 2,500 years old, and they're taking a needle off of that tree at the very, very top that doesn't affect the tree in the least. And even if they started hacking at the biggest branch and managed to get that thing off of that tree, the 2,500-year-old tree, it's not going to affect the tree. The tree's going to continue growing as fast, maybe even faster than it was before. Until you go after the root, that's the puppet masters behind the curtain. We're talking about the corporate owners, the people who own the Title 28, Section 3002, 15A Federal Corporation. Until you go after the bankers, until you bring them to true justice and get the money back that they stole from us, all the gold and silver, and put it back into our circulation, no problem will ever be solved in the realm of politics. Politics is just a symptom of the deeper problem. Politics is the smokescreen. It's the lie that keeps you distracted. It's the dog and pony show that keeps you entertained. It's what keeps the left and the right separated and at our throats while the bankers are behind the curtain the entire time going, I can't even believe that after 107 years, this is still working like a charm. Hey, do you want to modify the Hegelian dialectic? Why should we? It works like 100%. It's operating on all cylinders, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Create or co-opt a problem, wait for the fear-based reaction, get these people to start voting for the chains of their own oppression, which is exactly what elections are. And they're not even elections, they're C-elections, because all you're doing is voting for somebody who's already been selected in advance. You think the oligarchs are stupid? You think they command control over trillions of dollars and vast amounts of resources for nothing? Because they're dweebs, they're stupid. They are 10 chess moves ahead of us. And it shows at every election cycle, it shows exactly how out to lunch we are and how far they are ahead of us. So these fascists are like, we got to bring down Trump and Pence. The Trump-Pence regime backs police, sends paramilitary forces against the people, and calls for racist thugs to execute vengeance against the people. Peaceful protesters are run down and shot down. I haven't seen a whole lot of peaceful protesters. I have not seen a whole lot of, I've seen a lot of burning. I've seen a lot of looting. I've seen a lot of those peaceful protesters standing by while people are breaking windows and burning down even black-owned businesses. We were millions demanding justice in June and July. We must rise again. The next 60 days must be our time, not Trump's, not his fascist goons. If masses of people are in the streets every day by October, if every attempt by the regime to subvert the election, to repress, protest, to implement new fascist measures are met with growing numbers demanding Trump and Pence out now, in nonviolent protest, we could force a different political equation going into November. What political equation are you asking for? Because whatever it is what they've offered you, and they meaning the Zionist international banking elite. The Zionists have given you, here's what's on the smorgasbord. You got your green beans, you got your salsa potatoes, you got some whipped cream across there, you got some bananas, you got some chicken, everything that's laid out on the table has been given to you by the Zionists. And whatever you pick in the political sphere is something they've already chosen for you. It's like Stalin said, it doesn't matter who the people vote for. Every vote is a vote for us. We control the monopoly board. We've got Park Place. We've long ago bought Boardwalk. Everything's in our pocket. We have all the pieces, all the dice, all the cards, everything, all the funny money. It all belongs to us. Go ahead, make your move. Because whatever square you land on, I already own it, says the Zionists. But that's not what these fascists say. Because it's almost like these fascists were hired by the Zionists to just be an additional smokescreen to the already ludicrous dog and pony show. Constraining Trump's ability to easily postpone or subvert the election, and we would already be mobilized and prepared if he did so on election day. Every movement for justice must act on the understanding that we are at both and movement for every struggle for justice and for people's lives and for demanding Trump Pence out now. This is not a time for either or. My struggle, not yours. Humanity all over the world and the survival of the planet depends on what we do. Will it be said when facing an American fascism in the most powerful country in history that people here could not put aside their differences to stop the great horror? We do need to put aside our differences. And we do need to stop the great horror, but they are saying the great horror is Trump and Pence. Or will history tell that people rose as many acting together and stopped the great horror? In the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. And that's a good thing. You don't want to accept a fascist America. But these are probably Bernie Sanders supporters, and they would want a socialist America or a Marxist America or a communist America, which you know what fascism, socialism, Marxism, and communism ends in, and corporatism, you know what it ends in? It ends in a massive amount of loss of life. People die. The quality of life is diminished. So it's just got this whole thing right here. It's talking about when they're gonna be marching, where they're gonna be marching, at what time. So I just wanted to bring that up. This is refusefascism.org, and they are just as far off the mark as you could possibly be. What do you guys think about refusefascism.org? Leave your thoughts about this in the comments section below. I really want to know what you guys have to say about this. Okay, before you go anywhere, a lot of people have asked me if they can get a shirt from the store with the design on the back. Let me show you real quick what you can do within the store as far as self-editing your own design that you can put on any shirt, hoodie, mug, phone case, whatever. Pick out any design from the store, then select any item. And guys, there are hundreds of items to choose from. Hats, beanies, bags, buttons, men's items, women's items, stuff for kids, and even pets. I'll just select this shirt right here. You can change the item color to whatever you want. Hit this little pencil editing tool right here and then click on Customize. You can enlarge, shrink, or reposition the design on any item. You can also click over here to the left on Designs and add any design you want. Matter of fact, you can put as many designs as you want on the front or on the back of the shirt. Or you can click on text and add some customized lettering. With the lettering, you can change the font color, increase the size, and you can even bend the text. And check this out. If you want a design or lettering on the back or on the sides, just click on where you want your design or text, click on the design or text tool, or you can even upload your own design. It only increases the price of the item a couple bucks. And you can do this on any item that you select. The store link is in the description and in the pinned comment. Your purchase gets you a kick-ass design and supports the channel while it helps me create more content. Leave your thoughts about this video for the world and the Google Thought Police in the comments section below.